Nope. Makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Oh, interesting. Absolutely nothing. This is what I'm talking about. Like, nope, not happening here. Nope, can't do that. Nope. I'm getting so mad right now. You can get the theme here. I get kind of frustrated. It's 2024 and the brand new iPad Pro M4s just came out, and I'm here to tell you that Final Cut Pro for the iPad still sucks. And I'm going to tell you all the reasons why. I know that may sound like a harsh intro, but as someone who has edited thousands and thousands of videos on Final Cut Pro 10, I absolutely love Final Cut Pro 10, and I always edit my videos on my MacBook Pro because the iPad just can't handle Final Cut Pro the way that I want it to. This is a newer processor by 3 generations compared to my M1 Max that I purchased 3 years ago. Meaning there's really not anything that this iPad can't handle that this iPad Pro can handle. But for some crazy reason, and unless I'm missing something, they just can't make the same application for both the iPad and the computer. It is not even close to the same application. In a million ways, I'm going to use this video to specifically point out how many things in real time drive me crazy about Final Cut that I can't understand why they have to do it. So I'm going to take the exact same video that I just filmed about the new iPad and specifically just point out to you in real time as I would be editing it on the Final Cut for computer and the Final Cut for iPad, just how many things are nowhere close to the same that drive me insane and make it the reason why every time I edit a video, I still have to grab my computer first because the iPad Final Cut Pro is awful. So it doesn't get more simple than this edit. One clip, basically a talking head piece for about 10 minutes or so of the video that I just filmed that I want to put out about why I like the iPad Pro, whatever. Doesn't matter what the video is. What matters is how I would cut a video like this very quickly in real time on the computer, and I can't do the same thing on the iPad. So here we go. Let's first start with just beginner type of stuff. When I am editing very quickly, what I love about Final Cut Pro on the computer is that I can very quickly hit the X key and the Z key to zoom in and out really quickly to see my waveforms, to be able to quickly get to a certain spot that I want, and I can just start editing very, very quickly. Over here, when I'm in that same browser window, you can see that I can scroll back and forth just like I did on the computer. But if I hit the X key or the Z key or the C key to fit to fill or to zoom, absolutely nothing happens. So if I actually want to zoom into this to be able to see like a little bit closer on this big file, I don't even know how I would do it. I don't really know. So I can't zoom in. I can't zoom in on the clip. I don't know why, okay? So there's number one. So let's say the second thing that I normally do when I am doing a talking head style edit is I literally do my entire first cut of the talking head with just basically keyboard shortcuts. I don't ever even have to touch the trackpad. I use my J key to go backwards, my L key to go forward, I to set the in point, O to set the out point, E to drop the edit down to the timeline. Okay, so I can do that same thing on the iPad. I can fast forward with L, I can rewind with J, I can spacebar to move, I to set an in point, O to set an out point. All that is fine, right? We can do the same thing. So here's how I would quickly do my first rough cut of a talking head piece to very quickly get all my stuff on the timeline to start editing right away. I've been using the brand new 13-inch iPad Pro M4 for a week now, and I wanted to give my thoughts after using it extensively as my only computer. How does it compare to my previous iPad? What are some things that are surprising, and what are some things that are unfortunately still the same? First off, let's talk about some of the things that unfortunately haven't changed much. Not that Apple said that they would, but regardless, not too much different. Okay, so I just did 3 quick things there, right? This is just to show you some real-time examples. What you see me do is I hit I to create an in point, O to create an out point, I edit down to the timeline, and then I hit spacebar to continue playing what I was editing. So I could literally I, O, drop down, continue playing, I, O, drop down. I just keep throwing the things down in real time, right? That's just a very quick way to kind of just fly through this main edit. So now if I go to the iPad, once again, I can't zoom in, so I can't even see with detail exactly where I'm even looking at here. I've been using the brand new 13-inch iPad Pro M4 processor for a week now, and I've been using it extensively every single day as my primary computer. And look at that, okay? So I hit I hit O, I hit E to edit down, it edited it down in the timeline, and when I hit spacebar to continue playing, to continue to do my next I and O and move down, well, nope, doesn't happen. It jumps down to the timeline that I'm editing on, and I have to go back up to the top. I have to go to my output with Shift 0 and start from there again to continue to do my next edit, right? So watch that again. Test 1, 2, and clear. It's still like I'm trying to zoom in here to the freaking window, and we're zooming into the image up here, which is doing no good whatsoever. I want to zoom in down here so I can see better and zoom in further to this little clip, and I can't even do it. I've been using the new iPad. Let's just say I like that. O, E. Now our timeline and our cursor is down below, so if I hit spacebar to continue playing, it just starts over from the beginning on the timeline rather than the clip up top. Versus over here, not that Apple said that they would. O, E. Hit spacebar, continue playing in the browser. I can do it again. Is battery life. The new 13-inch iPad Pro is the thinnest device Apple has ever made. O, E, spacebar, continue, right? You can see, I can fly through an edit. Over here, no, can't even zoom in on the thing. If I hit I, O, and E, it jumps down and playhead goes down to the bottom here. I can't continue. That's just one super, super annoying thing. So let's just say at this point, just for the sake of testing, let's just say that we basically made these edits. I'm getting so mad right now. I'm also trying to go back up to the timeline where I just was and hit Shift O to go back to the out point that I've decided on because, well, that's the quickest way to go back to your out point. And honestly, within the last week, if I click down here and hit Command O, nothing happens. It just jumps back to the playhead. So let's go back to the out point here, Shift O. Nope, nothing happens. So let's try to do it here. And honestly, within the last week, honestly, within the last week, I haven't even picked up my computer. E, back to the bottom there. I can't do it. So once again, I got to go back up to here and try to hit Shift O. Shift O is not actually doing anything. So just simply play back alone right away, right at the very beginning, with how you throw a clip down and where the cursor goes and where it lets you continue to edit and put stuff on the timeline is not the same. So you have to do things entirely different than Final Cut on here. So just for the sake of making this a little bit quicker, let's just say now we have 3 clips that are identical in terms of just what clips we're doing with what between that, right? Now what I normally would do on the computer is if I wanted to basically do a crossfade of this audio, the transition between the two, so that they did a very nice J and L edit, which allowed me to simply be able to take these like this and do a little crossfade very cleanly over top of the audio in between clips. Obviously something you should do a lot, which makes it sound much nicer. Well, if I go over here, you can see that there's not currently a crossfade. And if I do the same thing where I select these 2 clips and hit Shift Command X, which is the shortcut that I have to do that audio transition, well, nothing happens. And that's because Shift Command X doesn't do the same thing over here. In fact, it does nothing. But more importantly, I can't route that keyboard shortcut to do that. So to do that transition here, I would have to go into here. I'd have to do fade out here of a couple seconds, followed by fade in here of a couple of seconds. Every single day as my primary computer. And honestly, but that doesn't even work because it's not actually letting me crossfade them. It's just basically fading them at the end. So to do a J edit or an L edit, I don't even know how to do it. Like, I can't. How do you make a transition here? Like how do I do a crossfade between these? This is what I'm talking about. Like how do I do a simple crossfade? You see on Final Cut here, I can just double click down below here, even if I wanted to do it manually, and it drops down very nicely, drops down the audio kind of below it for a nice, simple way to just grab this little tail here, boom, make your little fades. If you really want to do it manually, just double click those bad boys, they drop right down, they go right up. If I want to do it on the iPad, no, double clicking, nope, that doesn't work. If I right click on it and I do expand audio components, now you see that it brings it down. And I can do that same process. But once again, if I want to get detailed and just very quickly, like I do 100 times in edit, Z or X to zoom in quickly, or my C key to fit the timeline to the whole window, nope, that's not going to work either. So to zoom in, I got to pinch, or I got to use my fingers to zoom in, and then try to get a little bit more detailed with that edit. And I got to move this around. So let's just double click to bring those back together to collapse them again. Nope, can't do that. Let's collapse them by right clicking on it and hitting collapse audio units, because just like that's, just like Final Cut, it's just basically the same application. Where here you can see I can get detailed, I can zoom in here to my timeline, kind of drop these things down to see exactly what they are, and then when I'm done, all I gotta do is hit the C key. It zooms to fit the whole timeline. Okay, so let's say I'm flying through the edit here and I decide, hey, let me just actually cut this section out, right? I have tons of different keyboard shortcuts I could do on here. If I wanted to say, for example, I wanted to cut this section out, I could do it many different ways. I could press R and I could just select that little area and hit delete, boom. How about on here? If I do here, select R, R is the range tool. Oh no, interesting. The range tool is not the letter R. So now that we're on the range tool here, let me just click and drag that section just like I did on the computer. Oh, nope. It's actually moving the entire window for some reason. Instead of here, when I select the range tool, same name, range tool here, when I click and drag a certain section, it highlights that section like it should. Range selection, you like select a range of stuff, and then once it's selected, you do something with it. Perhaps you want to delete, perhaps you want to take that clip and move it. Sure, that's all possible. But on here, range tool, select the section. Nope, not choosing range. You can choose the whole clip, but not the range. Okay, makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Or perhaps on Final Cut, I could hit the B key right here, just nicely blade, which is routed to my blade tool. And then I could just do a top edit, which just basically will take this cut right here and move it to right here by hitting the left bracket. So if I go here and I go to B for blade, nope, no blade tool here. In fact, the tool doesn't even exist in general, right? Just nothing. So I'd have to maybe choose edge here, right? And I'd have to perhaps cut. Nope, don't want to cut. Maybe if I use the Apple Pencil. Nope, I have absolutely no clue how to blade. So I guess the only way to do it is by choosing this section of the clip and bringing it all the way back to here. Nope, not even that works. That's good. That's really good. Oops, I went to full screen. Well, that's interesting because now normally over here, if I just want to go to full screen, I can just, click this little button. It will take me to full screen. And then, when I'm done with full screen, of course, because what makes the most sense is I hit the escape key, because the escape key would take you out of full screen and bring you right back to where you were, right? Go to full screen here, hit the escape key on the brand new Magic Keyboard that now has the function row and all these buttons, one of them being escape. And what does escape do? Absolutely nothing. It doesn't do anything. I have to hit the little button down here to go back out of full screen. You can get the theme here. I get kind of frustrated. Okay, so let's just say we've somehow, some way been so incredibly happy with this edit that is, for 4 clips, and maybe we're ready to do our post-production polishing, right? Perhaps our color or our audio or exporting, whatever it is. Normally I like to, when I go into color, for example, I like to go to my workspace that I've created that is specifically my color one, which is Color Scott, where I basically have my scopes and I have, you know, the basic stuff that obviously we would edit to allow us to tweak those things. So I have my color scope that comes up here. If I go over here, I don't have workspaces at all. So I'd have to go to inspect, no clip selected. I would then have to go here to effects, maybe color, for example. Click on color adjustments. Color looks entirely different than it does on Final Cut, where over here I can just very quickly hit Command 6. It'll just very easily add a color wheel for me. I can go to color wheel here, and I like the color wheels personally. I really like that one. If I go to color adjustment, this is actually more what they're trying to do on the iPad. You can see that I just have my exposure here, contrast, brightness, all the sliders like normal. Over there, though, they're entirely different sliders, which doesn't matter, but what does matter is the scopes that you see here don't exist, I guess, on this. If you're trying to adjust color here, just eyeball it, right? Like that's all you can really do. If I want to make my adjustments on the color over here, I need to just kind of feel it out. So maybe we're done with color. I like to conveniently press Command 0 to just reset my layout to be what it was, how I started. So if I go back here on the iPad, Command 0, well, of course, doesn't reset my layout whatsoever. And I don't even know how to get back to the default. I guess there's really not. I just have to click on inspect and move crap around, I guess. Now, another thing I like to do a lot, depending on what I'm looking at in the video, is I like to just kind of hover over that area and zoom into the video or out of the video, hitting Command Z. That does absolutely nothing here, where if I go over here and hover my mouse over and go Z, I can kind of very easily zoom in. So if I'm trying to look at detail of something, or, you know, whatever, I'm trying to make adjustments on something, and then once I'm kind of done with that, I hit C and it'll just fit back to the window like normal. Where when I'm over here, if I go to this little window here and zoom in, nothing really happens. There is no zoom in. I can do it here, and I can zoom to a certain size, or I can pinch it, but don't even think about a shortcut that will allow you to do that. Now, one of the things that people don't love about Final Cut normally is that magnetic timeline, right? Where maybe they don't like the fact that if I try to move this over here, I just can't move it over here. But that's okay, because if you know Final Cut well, you know that if you just hit the P key, it will change to what's called the position tool, which then allows me to just move this wherever I want, and it will not be magnetized. I can kind of just throw things wherever I want, and they can live in their own area. They don't have to be attached whatsoever. So that's a nice feature, and I can just hit A to go back to that tool. So let's check out here what the position tool does on the iPad. And it does absolutely nothing, because once again, there is no tool called the position tool on the iPad. So if you suddenly want to just move things around to wherever you want, well, good luck, because you can't. But oddly enough, you can just take the clip without the position tool and just move it to wherever you want, and it will automatically create a gap for you to just do that. Now, if I'm on the standard version of Final Cut here on the computer and I try to just move something, it locks, and I can't really go much further past that area. It just basically is locked in position, and you really can't do anything unless I go ahead and hit that position tool, and then I can move wherever I want. So let's say perhaps we have gotten to the point where we want to just tweak a little bit of audio, because that's super important. So if you go to inspect here and we go to audio and we go to audio effects, we have two effects total. A single band EQ, which is not convenient whatsoever to actually adjust EQ, because you only have a single frequency to choose from, and you choose how sharp and narrow that frequency curve is, and how much dB you want it to be, and nothing else. Like, single band EQ does nothing. And you look at your audio tools, you have tons more tools. You have all different EQs that you can choose from. And you can even, if you prefer, edit your EQ with actual precision, like a normal EQ would work. But over here, no, 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 no. Single band EQ or compressor only. Don't try to get fancy. And let's just say, for the sake of testing, we wanted to go ahead and throw that compressor on this specific clip. And over here, we want to add that compressor as well. And the compressor here, you just have a very, very few select things you can adjust: your threshold, your ratio, your attack, your release. Where up here you have 19 different compressors. You have all the tweaks inside it to be able to graphically look at and decide how you want to do it, as well with metering to see what the compressor is actually doing. But here on the iPad, absolutely. 13-inch iPad Pro M4 processor for a week now, and I've been using it. The compressor does what it's supposed to in terms of the use. iPad Pro, but you can't see its reduction. You can't see any settings whatsoever for it. Now, just so you can see how it gets even worse in terms of editing, let's just throw a couple more clips in here. I'm going to bring in these files. I put them on my iCloud drive. I put them under desktop. And I want to select those three. Now, one of the things I love in Final Cut, and maybe you've never heard about this before, is called continuous playback. And if you go to View, Browser, Continuous Playback, what that allows you to do is that when you are finished getting to the end of a clip, it automatically, as you saw, jumped to the next clip. So what's great about that is that if I am editing and I hit I and I hit O to select clip and I bring it down, it just jumps right to the next clip. I can do the same thing. I can keep just looking through those videos, E, edit that down, it jumps to the next clip, and I can continue just going through tons of clips and throwing all these clips down to the timeline just like I wanted. Over here, if I get to the end of a clip, it stops, doesn't go to the next one. I can't tell it to go to the next one. I can't enable continuous playback. In fact, I can't even just hover over the clip in general to see what the clip is. When I hover over here, over top of the clip, nope, no hover whatsoever. I have to click the clip. I can scrub over top of here, but I can't scrub over top of here. I have to choose the clip, then hover here, choose the next clip and hover here. Here I can just hover over stuff and see what it is and just throw things right down the timeline. So let's say we've done our basic editing, we've done our color correction, and we've done our audio correction, and we're ready to export that video. I can go ahead and hit Command E here, choose all my settings, export it to wherever I want. If I go here in the iPad to Command E, we get different options. We get things looking very different than it is. And if I go to video and audio or video only, I can do that no problem, but I can't do audio only, which I do all the time, because when I'm finishing editing a video, I can export as audio only and just tweak that audio, or specifically upload that to something like Otter.ai to get a transcription, whatever. But in this option, I can only video and audio or video only. But in fact, I can get audio only if I just go to the export button here. And now we have video, audio only, current frame, or Final Cut Pro for iPad project. But Command E just takes me to video options for an export rather than being able to be routed to this instead, so I get a window like I'm used to. So I could go on and on and on with this video and do an edit that would be hours and hours long, and you could see how ridiculously frustrating it is to edit on the iPad. I wouldn't be frustrated if it was a limitation of the iPad because of power, but Apple continues to put unbelievable power into these iPads and then puts the most basic crippled version of the software ever on the iPad to basically make the power unusable. And I can't understand why they do that. Why can you not have the same version? I understand if you want to try to say in your head that, well, the average person that's editing a video on an iPad is more basic and they don't need keyboard shortcuts, or they don't need to do this or do that or do the way that I'm trying to edit that I love in Final Cut. But the point is, why can't I have the option to do that? I could go get my 4-year-old's M1 MacBook Air that was $900 and do everything I just did with just as fast speed, power, and everything in 2 seconds. It's got the most basic memory, the most basic everything, smallest hard drive space, no problem whatsoever. And this iPad that is 2.5 times the price of that MacBook Air, that has a M4 rather than an M1, has more RAM, has more processing everything, I can't do the most basic things with. I can do this exact same comparison with every other app that I have and say, why can't my M4 iPad do the application the same as the Mac OS version? And the answer I'd come up with is, I have no idea. What is it? If you're an engineer watching this, or specifically if you're Apple watching this, can you please help me understand why we have the most powerful iPads you've ever made with a chip that doesn't even exist yet in any other Mac computer, but yet I still can't even customize shortcuts on the app? Don't call it an iPad Pro if you don't let the applications do pro things. And pros that use these iPads, that would spend a lot more money to use these iPads, do more basic things than the average person. So let the stupid processor be able to do what the processor can do, and stop making these apps so dummied. I'm a huge Apple fan, but I can't understand why we're so far away. I want to just be able to bring this iPad and nothing else and use this as my everyday computer, and it has the power to do so. And I want it to do that. And I spend $2,500 on an iPad so that it can do that. And I don't understand why we're still stuck in this crazy limbo of the iPad having power that it can't be used. Final Cut Pro for the iPad still sucks. Can anyone else relate to this video? All right, my rant's over.